Hello and welcome everyone to the October 2022 session of Spooky Lettering with Janet Martorello. So I just want to thank all of you for joining us live today. It's very exciting to see you all, but let me tell you what's going on at Make It Your Lettering Year, what we've been up to. So Make It Your Lettering Year is sort of my premier online course that I love to teach. I'm going to go ahead and make this window larger. I don't know if that changes what you're seeing. All right. So just want to remind those that aren't muted to go ahead and mute yourself. All right. So here's what we're doing. We have 52 prompts in a year. That's every single week. We have a new prompt that we're talking about here. And in week 39, we did a speed exercise. So we've already covered all of the basics. We've been playing all year long with lots of different styles. And we talked about the different types of nibs. And even though we're talking markers here, this can also apply to calligraphy in terms of our speed and what we're writing with those particular nibs. Then we talked about filling letters. So we're constructing letters, no longer writing them, but drawing them and using them as containers to fill with different shapes or coloring them in or coloring around them. Oops. And then in week 41, we talked about drawing what we can't see. So we did some blind contour letters. Some of us did script, some of us just did block lettering and really played with that technique as well. And then if you were here last year, you may remember we played with two different lettering styles. I taught zombie hand, and this was a lettering style that is between two lettering styles that you may have learned from me before, twinkle and scary letters. And this particular lettering style was featured in an award-winning book that I also did the graphic design and layout for, Surviving the Horror of Online Meetings, by my friend Brian Torello. And we use this really funny outliner. It has a very long nib. It's called the Fine One outliner. And we also had Tamer was here. Tanner Gonim showed us some black letter. He did some demos and we played with black lettering. And both of these lettering styles, so fun for Halloween. And I just want to remind everyone to remember to keep building your lettering library, whether you use an old address book like Carol Dubois, or you use a travel journal like I've shown, or if you use cards, just regular index cards to collect the different types of lettering, whether you're on vacation or traveling, or if you're just scrolling around the internet. Capturing those letters are a really great way for you to remember how it is, all the different lettering styles that you have. And I ask you to share those on Padlet if you can. That's for the folks that are in the course. And then if you are in the course, I also offer free markers. Now, Janet, I didn't forget about you. And this is Janet G. I do have your package. I just haven't been able to get to the post office because I was waiting for some more markers to come in. And what I do is I send any of my students that want new markers or some gently used markers, because Neuland markers are refillable and their nibs are replaceable. So they'll last a lifetime. And I just ask that you pay for shipping and $1 extra. So if you're interested in joining us at Make It Your Lettering Year, you get free markers. And then my 3 top tips to make the most out of your lettering year and your practice is to attend these live sessions when you can, watch the recordings if you can't, create a space. Now, many of you on this call today are calligraphers, so you have studio space or you have spaces dedicated and to your lettering, and that's what allows us to be able to actually create space for ourselves in order to make. And then also remember to make time for practice, so very important. And then just a few housekeeping things. I'd love to remind you all to make sure that you stay till the end, because I'll be giving away 1, maybe 2, depending on how much time we have, spots in Make It Your Lettering Year. Now, you do need to be present to win. So if your name gets picked and you're not here, sorry. So be sure to stay to the end for that. And if you're already a part of Make It Your Lettering Year and you win, you get to give it to a friend. Again, we have weekly prompts, monthly calls. And in 2023, we're going to be focusing on books. So I have 4 book artists that are lined up. And in between those months, we're going to be doing community calls and working on our portfolios. Some of you on the call wonder about, and I get a lot of questions about becoming a professional tech host. Again, Karen and Mary are here to answer any questions that you have. So if you have any technical questions, you're welcome to message them privately. But I do offer a course called Tech Host Academy, and I have a special training for calligraphy guilds that's coming up probably in November or December, and we're going to be talking about hybrid. So if you're interested in that, feel free to email me or private message me in the chat and let me know if you're interested in learning about becoming a tech host. And then I also wanted to remind you of one of my favorite courses, and I know some of you have taken this, the Sweethearts of Lettering, or another name for it is For the Love of Lettering with Sharon Zoigan, Mike Gold, and Carol Dubosh. And this is a pre-recorded session, one of my favorites. I'm going to go ahead and put all of these links in the chat for you. If you don't, if you can't click on them, no worries. I'll also make sure to add this in the follow-up email that goes out to everyone. Right? So another reminder, Lettering for Holiday Projects. If you haven't already signed up, it is a free event that's happening October 26th, 27th, and 28th. You can check it out. I've got the link in the chat. Again, it's called Lettering for Holiday Projects. And for $29, you can get all of the recordings for free and all of the class notes. So there are two or more calligraphers that are putting all of those together. I don't know if Susie is in the room, but she's putting all the class notes for this great event together. And it's going to be at least 12 videos of how to apply lettering for holiday projects. All right, I'm almost done here. So let's make some spooky letters. I'm so excited to invite Janet Martorello to the stage. Janet has had the good fortune to study the scribal arts with Donald Jackson for a year and Sheila Waters through various workshops over time and with so many others, mainly but not limited to the British Isles and Europe. Her foundational learning goes deep. Her knowledge of traditional forms serves as a strong basis for all that follows. As program chairman for the Society for Calligraphy, she was able to attract and study with incredible masters of the art. Always a student herself, a teacher of adults for over 40 years, she loves learning, exploring the old with an eye to the contemporary while creating new forms and variations. And we're so fortunate to have her here today. The applications of both the graphic and fine art aspects of the art intrigue her. And as an exhibiting artist, she includes artist books in her repertoire and pieces in the fiber arts. Actually, any surface to Janet is considered fair game. She also enjoys commercial applications like film and TV. I like to quote Janet. She says, letters can be formal or dance and sing. They can carry mystery or clarification, and they can heal, bring solace, or offer a form of meditation like no other. The forming of letters brings me great joy and touches my soul. Calligraphy, lettering is a lifelong love affair. Now, Janet is presently offering classes and is a professor at the Santa Monica College in California, and she designs courses to be offered from her future website. So I'm so excited to have Janet here. Let me make sure that I can find her here. Here she is. And Janet, are you ready to join us?
I am ready to join. Yes, thank you.
Excellent. Welcome. And where are you dialing in from now?
I'm in Los Angeles at the moment. I'm at two places in California right now. I'm in Los Angeles. Yes.
Wonderful. Now, we shouldn't be too scared about what you're showing us. We can all do this, right?
It's pretty spooky. I don't know, Heather. You are the person really, I think, that started me on this path, because you had you had spooky, you had scary, spooky, whatever it was you had. And I saw that and I kind of brought it back to my students. And then, I just went off.
Well, I'm glad to see that. And I hope others did too as well. So if you're here for last year, I hope that this will inspire you to see what Janet's done in the past year with these spooky lettering. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Janet. You let us know how we can support you.
So, okay. So these are kind of basic Roman, casual Roman. And I remember with Donald, and we were supposed to learn the Roman caps, and I thought, oh, those are block letters. Who cares about those? I just really, yeah. You know what? Your whole life you can study them and improve on them. So I did these casually. I did them with a ballpoint pen, actually. So from here, and I'll show you why I sent these to you and how we're going to learn them when we're on camera. And then those build into these. And these are, so this is with the broad edge pen. I'm using my number 3mm Browser here. And so these are the letters, except that I've sprinkled in for you a few little uncial forms as well, because I think they're kind of fun and they work nicely. And you'll see them in some of the things I show you. So just be on the lookout for little uncially things, okay? And then down here, we will talk about the basic strokes that you'll find in the letters. And then this is like a letter I might be. And so this is how I'm, doing the little thing. So here's the deal. When I was in St. Andrews, and is where the golf course is in Scotland, and there's a right next to it is a graveyard, and right next to that is a tree. I hope to find that tree for you, but we were doing film then, and pictures get, I don't know, it's not like digital. And so so there was this tree, and I thought, oh my goodness, that is the true Halloween tree.
Can you click that slide for us?
That's what I'm doing. So this isn't it. These are just off the internet, but you see how the little craggly things come. And so we're going to learn a lot about pen manipulation today. And if you were scared of it, you don't have to be. It's not scary. You don't have to be anymore. We're going to go in, and you have this in your handout, and we're going to try to, emulate and do our own thing with it. So that's how we're going to start to warm up. So you go from those letters to trees, and then what do you get? Oh my goodness. I see this as a title for a film, and I see a swampy character, all dripping with whatever, and this is the title in white, on the poster. So yes, make this come true. Okay, so from there, then how do we use it? Well, this is a little idea for a card. Halloween. And I used the Gothic or the textura, whatever you might call it, in here, and the pen drew the tree. And so the same pen actually did all of this stuff. So that's just a little idea. And then this is supposed to go, these are all like preliminary, not there yet. I should have taken this branch out. That was wrong. It looks like an F. I'm going to cover it up with my arrow. So I'm thinking that this is going to go on something with a skeleton above it. Don't rattle me, because rattling the bones. So that's, but you see all of the little tendrils that come out. And so I'm going to be dipping my pen today, so I have a lot more ink. And then here's something that some of my students might be with us today. I saw one. And so this is Witch's Brew, and I think I need to make that heavier. And these are some uncials that I'm teaching right now. There's from the 700s. And then this is a scaled down version of the Witch's Brew. So we have 3 different things kind of hanging in there. And then these will all be realized soon. These are just, the witch is in. A friend of mine had the sign on her door. It didn't have the witch, it just had the words. And I so love that. And this will be used in the future. So that's, yeah, I like that. So any questions about that? If you have any questions about anything, please put them in the chat, and they'll get passed on to me. So that'll be great. I have all of those printed out, and I'm going to show you how to use, because not everyone will. Okay, I just think that this is a style that lends itself. You need something enough that you do all of that stuff on it, and it'll make sense. So I'm going to show you how I would use that that second one, the plain one. I'm sorry. So here we have the alphabet as I showed you. And so what I would do is, now you might have layout paper that you can see through. You can kind of see that I can see through it. And what I would do is have, take a ruler or not, and draw a pencil line perhaps And I gave you lines with your handouts. That's just so in case you needed some lines. They don't really read necessarily, although one of them does relate to these letters. So I'm going to give myself just a little casual line, and it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's say that I want to write calamity. That's a long one, but I don't know the letters. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to say, okay, here's a C and here's an A. And I'm just going to give myself a little prompt so that if I don't know the letters, then I can space it a little bit. I don't know how well, you can't really see, but I might just come in and give myself, trace through and give myself some letters. I'm not going to do the whole word because you can't see with me, but I'm going to just write the letters in there. And then I can go back and I can relax and be over the top with them. So I'm just doing that much calam, and then I'll show you how to use that. So that'll just give you a little bit of a guide to work through. And I hope that that's helpful to those of you who would like to have that. Okay. So what I'm going to show you next is the page that is actually done with a broad edge pen. So this is the one I showed you on the screen. And here's an unshell, here's some unshell things that are thrown in. I'll go back through the slides and show you again, once you're used to using these. I'm writing, this is the pen widths, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll show you how to get that. That's how tall I was writing these tall letters, pen width. So whatever size pen you're using, it doesn't matter because you'll just do it in proportion. Now, I told you, I said you might want to have a little pipette or something, because I'll take my ink from my ink bottle and I'll put it into something like this, which often works really well. It's got a little stopper, it's got a suction cup on it. The top unscrews. And I don't often dip my pen, but I'll tell you I do in this case. So I'll just take it out of my bottle and I will put it into there when I need it. And so that's what the pipette was for. And so here I need a lot of ink. So I'm just going to dip it in so I have a lot of ink. And when Heather shows you the markers, you'll see the difference in that. So down below we have some basic shapes. And so the first one is just straight up and down. And it doesn't matter if you're using an angle on your pen or not. These you're not going to have any consistent anything. So you have a horizontal line and you have a left curve and you have a right curve and you have diagonals. Okay. And pretty much variations of that. So when I'm writing this, now I'm going to get close so you can really see this, because I want you to not miss a thing with this. This you're going to be moving and grooving, you guys. This is so much fun, but it's crazy, and that's that's good. This is fun and crazy. So I'm going to be rocking back and forth. All right, so when I'm coming down, for instance, I'm going to be doing my left edge, my right edge, my left, I'm just going to be rocking back and forth. And so you can kind of do a little guy here, just kind of go down and try it with your pen. And just, it doesn't matter how long you pull it, what you do with it. It's just going to look, it's going to look like the width with her. It's just so, if I'm going sideways, like same thing, I'm going to just pull it. Now we're doing this because we're going to be working together. So, so I want you to get warmed up with this. And then if I'm doing a corner, a curve, same thing. I'm just rocking it and rolling, whatever it is. And those two are going to be like, the reason I didn't give you a spooky alphabet is because there isn't one. It happens spontaneously when you're working. So if I'm doing a diagonal, same thing. I'm just moving it. And I might want to be thin more, and I might want to be, so this is it, whatever angle you're going in, that's what you want to do. Now let's look at our tree handout together, and it'll give us a little more manipulation idea. So if we have the tree, we can see that we can pull it out. I need to get a little bit closer. So I just lost my ink. Oh, there it is. Got out of the way. So if I'm doing something like this, so I'm coming up and I'm pulling on the edge of my pen, and I'm making it look all naughty and all, doesn't matter what you're doing with the edges of your pen. Let me get a little closer so you can see this. So I'm coming up and saying, okay, how am I going to build this branch? And so I'm, just look at what it is, make your own little things, make it spooky. I mean, I'm just, I'm just thinking of, time. What is spooky? When you're in a graveyard or the wind's whistling through the trees or things are happening, you can pull it out. So I'm on the top edge of my pen here. I'm on the right edge of my pen here. I'm on the left edge of my pen here. Whatever comes to mind, this is what you're going to work with. Okay, so try drawing this. Let me give you a couple of just a minute here to be able to look at your handout and work with your pen. Just work with those edges. You can't do this wrong. Isn't that great? You cannot do this wrong. Let me be quiet just for a minute. Let you try it. And here's a tip. It's hard for me to be quiet, I guess. If you find that you want to make a something like here, I want some more juice, but there's ink there. So if it's not coming out of my pen, I can go back and just push right there, and that'll put more ink in that place, and I can draw it out. And just juice up the line. If you want to say anything in the chat, I will be told what you're saying.
I think their hands are busy making strokes. I see a lot of heads down, and I see a lot of people enjoying what you're doing too.
I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
That makes all the difference, doesn't it?
Does, certainly does. That's why I played a long time last night.
Janet, do you find that with this technique that you're using that it's easier to push or pull your pen, or does it matter? Do you do it both ways, push and pull?
That's a good question. I think I'm pulling. I'm not pushing. Well, I did push up here, but I was on an edge.
Right, so
So
barely touching, probably not as much resistant. Dawn has a question in the chat. She's wondering, what ink are you using?
I'm using Higgins Eternal. I like it quite well. I also use Pelican, the 401. I have that ink because that flows really nicely. This is nice and dark. I like ink that flows, but I don't use ink very much, honestly. I either grind my own or I use gouache, or, but the Higgins is like real ink. I don't use many colorings, but you know, if you enjoy them and it makes you feel. See, here I'm pulling my right edge. Here I'm pushing my left edge because I'm going in that direction and I'm not moving my paper. If I were interested in moving my paper or getting a different angle, then I would do something there. I just, yeah. So I hope that you enjoy that, and I hope that this is like something that, you know, we're going to have no leaves on trees for a while. And isn't it fun just to know you can go out and take your pen and do something with it? So so we'll go back to now to just the basic strokes for a moment. And when I'm doing, so here's a downstroke. So if it's a downstroke I'm doing, I can determine how long or what it does. Of course, I don't really want it even anyway. And then I'll come up and I'll say, okay, I'm going to have something growing out of here. And I'm going to have something growing out of here. And one of the great things you've got, you know, sometimes between letters can be a challenge. Well, you can just put some branches in there. That takes care of that, you know. So I'll show you more about that. But so that's that kind of thing. If I'm doing a curve, so I will complete my shape. At least I'll do this part of the shape, and then I'll say, okay, what calls to me? What do I see that I just want to do some, you know, some branches out of there? And of course, I don't want to do, you know, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I want to, you know, change the rhythm. I want to do things that, you know, and I won't put it everywhere. And if I'm writing a letter with double letters, and I'll go back through my samples again. I don't want them the same. Isn't that amazing? We work so hard for consistency all the time. I don't want them the same. I want them different sizes. I might tilt them. I might, you know, do things, but I want them to be, I want them to each be interesting. This is not a stamp, you know, this is not a stamp. This is not type. This is hand lettering. And Hermann Zoff told us, he says, you know, do something, even though you might be doing the most perfect letters you know how to, you want to do something, like he was talking to us about book titles and things. You want to do something where people know that you did it by hand. I was lucky enough to be there one summer at Rochester Institute of Technology when it was kind of the last of what he was doing. So, and Julian Waters took over after that. So anyway, I'm just making things grow out of things. And I'm not worried. I don't care. I mean, yes, I may, if I, you know, am I going for look or am I going for legibility? That might be something, but at first just play. And then you'll say, okay, now what am I doing? So so this is how I do it with the pen. Heather, do you want to show us the application for the marker, how we do that?
So some of you know that I use Neuland markers, and I'm using 2 different markers here today, actually several, but I'm mainly the outliner, which is the black, and the twin one, which is the sort of a 601 reddish orange color. And I'm using what we call a wedge nib. And these nibs are, you can see here, and I've drawn it here. What I'm using for this is both the broad edge, the tip of the nib, probably one side or the other, and the heel of the nib. And you'll notice when I'm using the broad side, of course, it can be much thicker. The tip is thin, but I can also angle it. But when I pick it up and use the heel is going to give me the most scratchy when the ink is flowing. There we go. The thinnest line, the heel is that very corner of that thinnest line. All right. Great. Yeah, you want them to growl. That's excellent. So these are the markers that I'm using. And of course, because this is a wedge nib, that can be scaled up to using a much larger marker. So for those of you that are making posters or want to make really big letters or draw really big trees, now we can get into much bigger lines by using what this is called the big one. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, Janet, I'm going to put this back to you if you're ready.
All right, I'm certainly ready. Thank you so much. So she said big, and I go, I've got big for you. So this is an automatic pen. That's what it's called. It doesn't do anything automatically. I don't know why I did that, but I'll show you just a little bit here with my camera, and then so this is an automatic pen. That's what it's called. They're from England. Um, this is a wooden. They're now plastic nibs, but they see they have a wedge here. Yeah, okay. So this is an automatic pen. It has little teeth on one side and and smooth on the other. And inside, look at that. It's just genius. And it opens up and it feeds through there. The ink feeds through there. So if we want to do something tall, and I'll show you what I did with it. I'm looking for it now. That's all right. I'll use this, my walnut ink. But I'm writing, if I'm writing 6 times the width of my pen, for instance, I enjoyed that as a little thing. I don't know if you know it, but when you open your ink bottle, make sure that you don't tear and then put that little thing back in there. It's like a bladder. When they had traveling inkwells, I didn't even think I was going to talk about it, so I didn't bring one. I bought some, in antique places. They would have like a protruding bit of leather in there to keep the ink from splattering or doing anything, from leaking. So I always make sure to keep that top in there once I've done it. So if I'm going to have, I'm looking at yes, this is used with this up so that the teeth are in the right place. It only works one way, not the other, or for most people, let's say it that way. So if I'm going to be doing, oh, hello. If I'm going to be doing measuring my pen, I'm going to measure it as 1. Now touch the corner of that and don't overlap and don't leave a space. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is what I said I was doing that at. So that's how tall these letters are going to be, quite significantly different than what I've got here. So I was able to write very tall letters, but still this is going to be feeding in the same way. So let me show you what I did with this. And I will tell you, it's like, does this read? So my neighbor who lives upstairs, I'm in an apartment right now. My neighbor who lives upstairs is not American born, and English is not her first language. So she was a good test. And I said, can you read this? And she read it. It's mounted on sticks.
Ooh, knock if you dare.
The edges are torn on purpose. Of course, I have sticks behind it that it's taped onto. I have some thread that I'm hanging it from, and I'm hanging it off center on purpose. These are sticks that I found in my little local wild place. I have a little tiny bit of wild place in the park. And so I really like the way that looks. And it's my walnut ink. It's my automatic pen. And that's what I did with it. And I just think it's fabulous. So what kind of words would you like to write? Think of some words, put them in the chat to share them with other people. And then you start to write your word. And if you have any question about a letter or something, or you want to see me write the word, I'll certainly do that. But I think that, Heather, you said maybe we would give them 5 minutes or something at least to write words.
Yeah, I'd love to see some words in the chat. so that we can see what kind of words you're thinking about. I will set a timer and we'll give you about 5 minutes to work on that. We have a couple of questions for you. What kind of paper is that stick mounted sign? Was it sort
Oh,
of a thicker paper?
it's what I like to use a lot. It's inexpensive. It works well. Is Strathmore drawing paper. Yeah,
Excellent.
the 300 or the 400 doesn't make any difference to me. But yeah, I like that paper a lot.
Great. We had another question previously, but I'd love for you to demonstrate this too, if you can.
Uh-huh.
And that was, Marcia was asking, see if I can find it here. It was way up in the chat. Asking, I think the question was, is do you add branches to the inside of your round letters? Or all of your examples, are they done on the outside?
They're done wherever it seems good. Let me see if I have something here to show you. You know, there's no rule in my head. It's just wherever it seems right. So
Where it needs to
show
be.
you this again. This is Swamp Creature. So in the R, I have it going into the interior. The W's got one going on here. The M's got one going on here. And again, that's the uncial M I'm using. The U has a little, it's however the pen comes out and it's rocking and seems to need something is where it says, Janet, do something here.
Yeah, maybe be a little careful if you're doing an O that you don't place it in such a way that it might be mistaken for a Q. So it's about readability, but also aesthetics, right?
Yeah, it's all of the above. You know, there's things that I do change when I look at them. Just like I told you that one, I said, oh, that looks like an F now and not a T. So that's, you know, but you know, first just do it. Just do it, have fun, and then go back and, you know, creative first, editing second. Go back and see if there's something that makes it not quite legible or something. I did do one that my husband says, oh, that doesn't look like a W, it looked like an R to him. Well, that's, you know, he's been around calligraphy enough that, and I'm glad that he said that to me.
That's great. Oh,
Here's,
these are wonderful. We love to see the originals too from the slides that you shared. Do you mind writing a word for us?
oh, I absolutely will. Let me just answer this little bit of question. So here inside of the W, I've got something there. Yeah, so just as we go through and look at, I'm looking forward to finding a skeleton where I can have "Don't Rattle Me." But this is the place where I shouldn't have put a branch there because that could be interpreted as an F. But I certainly don't want two letters that are side by side to look the same. I mean, it's just the antithesis of everything we've learned. Yes. So what would you like to see me write?
Well, a word that came up that I thought would really be great is the word horror, HORROR, because we have several R's and a couple of O's. And that would give us an opportunity to see how you might do some variations. Are you willing to do that?
Oh, absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely. I'm
And
willing
I
to play with
and I
you.
love that tip that you gave us about tracing the skeleton letter and then maybe using that as a guide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can see that. You can see that closer now, but you couldn't see through the other one. So let's just say that what I want to do here is I'm going to write horror, and I don't want to miss. Okay, so I'm just going to do a little, and I can do an uncial H or and you might want to have the crossbar come at an angle. That might be more horrific. I'm going to make it bounce a little bit. And maybe sway. Yeah, we're gonna, you know, just whatever, all of these variations, it's all fair game. It's wonderful. Okay, so I'm not going to necessarily stick to that, but that'll just give me a little something to follow. And I'm sorry, I had my, where's that pen? It went over here. Okay, so I'm going to dip. But you see why I'm dipping now. I don't normally, I'm feeding my pen with a brush when I'm doing more technical stuff, but this I want a lot of moisture. So I think a strong beginning to know that it is an H maybe. And then, and then I can just, and I might want some dripping things, the something that's in a lab that's all drippy, or blood or something like that. What do I think of when I'm thinking spooky? And I don't want them to drip the same, of course. I don't want anything the same. This is not what we were taught.
Keeping it organic, right?
Oh boy,
Whether it's
absolutely.
branches or blood, it's gonna flow the way and grow the way it wants to.
Yeah. So actually what I need to do now, I'm getting too into the letters. This is what happens when you love letters, you just get into them. But I'm going to make some things while it's still wet. And remember, I showed you how to juice it, so I'll show you that again. But I just want, some things to come off of other things. I can use the corner of my pen to draw if I kind of made a something. So Heather said, well, don't let it look like a Q, but if it goes up this way, you probably won't think of a Q. Let's see. I'm just looking at where it's wet and where it has maybe a hollow thing going on. And you're eventually working on balance and stuff, but at first, I don't know, just have a good time. Okay. So now I'll go on. Is that looking spooky? I think of, dark graveyards and trees rustling, and just all the things that scare you. You think maybe someone's around, and they might be. They might
This is
be.
so wonderful. I'm wondering, I'm watching you do your letters and then you stopped and made some branches. Would you normally, yeah, do as you're doing now, make branches before you start on the next letter?
Yeah, I just, yes, yes, both.
Yeah.
Yes and yes. But I was getting into enjoying the letter so much that I forgot to put branches.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
know,
because that would really have to do with your spacing, right? So sometimes the letter spacing could get a little messed up if you get a little wonky on your branches.
it
But at
could.
the
So
same time, you don't have room for your branches if you haven't left space for them. So there's a balance there, right?
there's a balance. And so, like here I've got the space in the R, so I might be safe in there. And I do know what's coming up next, but I as I said, you might be able to kind of have a spacing error not noticeable when you are, because you just put some branches there, and oh, isn't that great?
Yeah, you can almost fix it, can't you?
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
indeed.
I love what Tess wrote in the chat. She said you could make some of these branches look like skeleton hands. Oh, Tess, I would love to see you do something like that. You'd almost
Yeah.
have to you'd almost have to know all the joints and all the bones in the hand, but that would be fabulous. Yeah.
Well, that's, when I'm thinking of when I was first at Disneyland and I was 10. It was a very, very long time ago. But there was this thing where the witch came out with the poison apple. She came out from behind a door when, as you went by, and her fingers were all kind of um yeah, I just have to say now that I know, well, they were kind of arthritic. and she was green, and it was just, spooky, just spooky stuff. So, I may be overdoing it now because we're talking, I'm having a good time, so how dare I?
No, that's wonderful. I love the storytelling and the fact that you can also talk and write. That's great.
Well, the writing is not. I'm not doing real Roman caps, but so yeah, just things. I'm just playing and having a great time, and it's so much to be here with you. Now, see, that kind of funny. So we don't want this to look like a Q, because I think that was a very good. We want to make sure it's O-ish. And then I'm tilting my letters, and I'm bouncing them up and down. And of course, if I'm in Photoshop, I might go, oh, you know what? I want that to go the other way. And so I play with them again, and I can just play forever. So maybe this leaves a little bit of space in here because it's so. I think I'm really overdoing this because I'm just having fun and showing you guys stuff and hoping you're having fun too.
Well, and I think now that we know this, the basic skeleton, we can see the letters in it, right? So we can definitely recognize it and enjoy this process. And that's such a great thing to understand too, is looking back at this, what's too much and what would you clean up? And this is why if you had one specific word that you were doing here, I can't imagine an entire quote in this, but just maybe one word, or maybe one word has a lot of branches and then other words have maybe less, so that they're a little bit more readable. This is where we could have lots of iterations, right?
Absolutely. And yes, you brought up the good point is that there are some places where I'm going to do, so for instance, I'm going to do horror Glen just because it came to mind. I have no idea where it is and I'm going to stay away from it, but you know, so I might want horror to be the thing that's you know, and then Glen will be similar, but it won't have all the branchy stuff. So I can make things lighter or more. Let's have a few little drifts on the E's. So that already, that E is spooky to me. It's just kind of, but I don't have any. I'm gonna go back and put some. And that's great. You don't have to worry about straight lines. So you see, you can read Glen easier, but it's still pretty spooky, and it looks like these branches and you know, the witch's crooked finger and you know, sorry mom, and all of these things. You know, I was such a terrible daughter.
No, this is wonderful. And I love to be able to see the contrast here. And I also want to just say thank you so much, Janet, for coming and teaching today, because it's not easy, especially when you're doing something scary like this. And I know it's very quiet. So I'd love to invite folks to unmute and just note and just maybe share, what are you noticing as you're writing this way, or as you're watching Janet write this way? What are you noticing about yourself? It probably feels like you're breaking some calligraphy rules, right?
You
What
know
might
what
be
it
happening?
kind of reminds me of, Heather,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
Brody Neuenschwander uses some of, I should say, misuses a lot of his quill pens. And he does this kind of like scratchy sort of writing, not like this, not as stylized as this, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. And it's just sort of that letting go and just,
Yeah.
you know, like Janet said, it just having fun with it, and you can lose yourself in it. I mean, that's what I just did. Just one whole page of just fun. It's just really fun. And I was trying like a couple of my different pens and,
Uh-huh.
you know, and just kind of seeing what, I mean, if that's one thing that I've learned over the past year, as far as calligraphy advice or art advice is, you know, what happens if I ... do it, try it. This is a lot of fun to try it with. This is a great exercise for that, Janet. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for reminding us, Tess, that we need to loosen up, right? Good.
You know,
Catherine,
I
did you
have
have
one
something?
student who is
Yes.
fearless, and I love it, and I want to be more fearless
Oh,
myself.
I love that. Doing something spooky and fearless at the same time. So Catherine had something to share.
Yes,
Yes.
Catherine. Yeah.
I have been like, I'm a chemist, I'm a scientist. I never thought I am creative, but the more I learn about calligraphy, and then I believe, yes, we can all do it. Especially today, I can never believe I can do anything like that. And now I feel so comfortable, I can do it. So it's a great experience.
Oh, good.
Thank you guys so much.
And you see how with this, because you're having fun and there are no rules really, that
Right.
you start to learn how to
Yeah,
use the
good.
edges of your pen. And the edges of your pen, you know, in formal calligraphy, you may not see it, but a lot of really great calligraphers go back and they noodle in. You know, they'll have something going on, and I'm just making this up, and they'll go back in and they'll use the corner of their pen and they'll draw with it, and they'll make changes. Friedrich Neugebauer, if you ever see his book, he just did a lot of, there was nothing written directly. When I first started, you wrote directly, but they'll go back and they'll just draw in corners, and see, I'm juicing that up again. There wasn't enough ink, and really make things happen in there. And if you know how to use the edges, you are light years ahead, honestly.
Ah, well, thank you.
One more thing I really love about this, Janet, is that, you can look at it from the viewpoint of, gee, this looks like it was written really fast and, loose and everything. But like, we're all kind of, at least I have been going kind of slow with it. And just sort of like you're doing right now, just sort of like kind of twisting and turning, experimenting with your pen, seeing what your pen will do, getting familiar with those edges and seeing what they're capable of. And, you don't have to, and in a lot of cases, you don't go quickly with calligraphy. You need to slow down and just let it go, but have some thought behind it. And this is truly just really thoughtful and painterly, and I just love it.
No, I'm so glad. Thank you. Yeah, I can see now that could look like a P. So I'm going to come in, because I mean it for it to be a D. So I'm going to come in and make sure it's legible. You don't always care about legibility, but I probably do all the time.
Such a great on the fly adjustment. Thank you for sharing that and helping us notice that.
Oh,
That's great.
absolutely.
So we have a couple of comments in the chat. Thank you, Karen, for sharing Sandy's list of all these really spooky letters. Those are awesome. Gail is dipping a 3.8 millimeter parallel pen into
Right.
ink, and it's easier for her to get those really thin bits for the branches.
Yes,
Yeah.
because the parallel pen, while wonderful to having an edge, they're not thin. And so my browses I can sharpen and
Yeah.
get
Well, the
the
parallel
pen
pen is on the very, very edge. You can use that.
it still has a thickness, but yes, yes, you can. Absolutely. So I'm just playing.
Well, we've been doing lots of playing. I love that. I'm wondering if now would be a good time to take a break and introduce folks to the Padlet.
If you decide someday to stop this little game that you are playing, I'm gonna tell you all the things my heart's been a dying to be saying. Just like a ghost, you've been a haunting my dreams, so I propose on Halloween. Love is kind of crazy with a spooky little.
I never realized that song and it says Halloween in there until just now.
Isn't that great? Turn it back over to Janet. Janet, do you have anything you want to add or say before we look at the works? This is really
Well,
exciting.
I know that we wanted to. You keep me on track, Heather. I know that we were interested in saying, are there any letters that are giving you a
Oh, that's
problem
right.
or a word that you'd like to see written? So we can do that. I also have some of my original stuff here that you might like to see what I was working on that I turned into stuff with Photoshop. So I thought, that might be interesting for at least one person.
Yeah, let's see it. We'd love it.
Oops. Okay, I have something to report. My little, I'm putting all this stuff around, and my little dippy doo thing went over on its side, and it absolutely did not spill anything. Yay.
What?
So let me move this. So this little guy here went completely on its side. It's got a screw top, and wasn't even completely screwed on. It went over on its side, and there's no ink dripped out of it. So I think you can buy these in like sets of 3 or something. And they're great because they sit where you put them mostly, mostly. And, I might have the orange ink in one and my walnut ink in one and my Higgins in one and, stuff. So I find them very convenient. So I just want to show this to you. So this is some of the stuff that I was playing with and what I was doing. Now, some of my students who are here will know that what they're supposed to be doing is for homework is to write in an undulating form. And for the ones that came from the cauldron, I wanted that to be, like steam coming out. So we worked on, so I wrote these and, just played with them. And some things worked and some things didn't work as well, or, something. So that was my playing with the ones that came out of the steam stuff. And you want to be able to write, not just in straight lines. Well, I don't know, you might not want to, but I do. Anyways, that was that. And then this is part of my, I was playing with, so here's the don't rattle me. And this went up high. And I thought, oh no, I don't like that. So then I gave myself just some very casual pencil lines and wrote it again. And I think I wrote it so much better the second time, you might want to see it just a little closer. But, this one is like such an improvement, except for that F thing there.
Well, we learn each time we do this, right?
Well, yeah, you just get,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, there's that difference, which you might like knowing that, yeah, even just with one thing being done over, that it can be that way. And this is the one, the Witch's Brew. This is the one that my husband thought this was like an R. So, so even though I used it, I photoshopped out up to there. Or, if I'm using paper and I'm not doing electronic things afterwards, I could take, I'm looking for my X-Acto knife, but I could come in and, depending on how good your paper is, I could come in and scratch that off and fix it down. And there's a whole wonderful thing you can do to fix mistakes. What you don't do is white out. Don't ever do white out. And then here was invitation to A, and so I tried to make that kind of plain. When I went in Photoshop, I kind of made things a little bit more the same size and stuff. I played with several A's just to see, what I just didn't have it quite, and here's my, so you see I'm writing all with the same pen here. Howl, oh ween. I saw that somewhere and I love that. And my tree, and several goes at the at the cauldron, because I had to look up cauldron online to see the shape that was better, and different witches and playing with, again, looking things up to find shoes that were better and things
Can we
like
go
that.
back to that Halloween? I just want to point out
Oh,
that
yes.
it really reads Halloween because the howl is on its own line, and that you put those sort of hyphens or those marks between Hal and Oween. It really, the layout here, I think, really helps it read that way. So I just wanted to
Well,
bring
thank
that
you.
to other people's attention, that yeah, sometimes we have to do several versions of this, even though we might like a letter over here because it worked. And for those of you that are tech savvy, you can scan and make your own alphabet and start to place them, some of these letters together. But I really loved the layout on that.
Oh, well, thank you. See, I
Yeah.
got a lesson too. Thank you very much. But yeah, but that, I saw it, I guess I saw it all in one line, and it had the little things. But this just seemed, and you see, I wrote happy here, and that just wasn't going to be the right happy for the other one. So I went to the Gothic look, and yeah, just did things over and stuff. I have a lot more to do here, and so the things I showed you are not finished. They're just ideas in their first stages.
Excellent. It's great to see your process.
Yeah. I always loved, I always loved to know, how artists did. And I certainly, Sheila Waters was one, when she would come to our society and I was program chairman. I said, I want to see your process. And Heather, you've gone to her house
Mhm.
when before I ever got there, and drawers and drawers full of stuff, and every single piece of paper that this led to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. It's such an education. You know, I miss her terribly, but what a treat to be able to see her process and to know. And I always want to be inside of people's heads. What were you thinking? What were you seeing? What was going on? You know, so I'm happy to share that as well. And I just see this little thing is talking to me. It says, well, tell them about me. This is just regular, you know, well, I don't know. There's no thing regular. This is twine that I used to hang my sign with, but I dipped it into my walnut ink. And so in some places, so it's variegated. And I just dipped the whole thing in a thing, and, you know, so I like that. It wanted to come and say hello. Okay, do we have anything that we want to, so this is the drawing paper, and here's how, you know, how heavy it is. It's nice.
That's great. We do have a question in the chat. Would love to see you write a capital A.
Let me see. I might use my speedball pen and see how that works. Speedballs, you know, I love the flexibility. I don't like the two splits because you don't always get them lined up. So this is a wide one. This is a CO. You see how that goes. All right, well, I'm going to start with the A. So we have, oh, come on, don't be like that. We have the, I'm going to start with the A. So these are all diagonals.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe that's where we're having some challenges, huh?
Uh-huh. So, you know, classically, the left side of the A is thinner and the right side is heavier. And so I told you that I'm not following any rules, but yeah. And actually, I'm just have an idea. I don't know that it'll work though. I might use this for horizontal in my A. What do you think? Possible if I work at
Ooh,
it?
you know, that's a great option. And once it's in relationship to the rest of the word, as long as it's recognizable, yeah, I think that'll work.
That's a thought anyway. Okay, and that came from that thick part. You see, the thick parts with the thins are saying, you know, go look at me. I'm got something going on here. Okay, an M. So, you know, the M's classically are not terribly splayed, but they're not straight up and down either. So again, I'm going with, you know, classical thoughts. Ew, does that ever look spooky? Hi. Okay. Now this is the thicker stroke. So I am keeping these things in mind. And how much I put in here, I don't know. I might have to wait. And this will be a thinner stroke again.
What I love about this process is that as we make a move and we see what works, we get instant feedback and we can replicate it or make another variation based on what's working, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just, well, you know, when I showed you the two, what were they? The words, whatever they were, I forget. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, I improved it. And
Yeah.
so sometimes you might not improve it. So what am I doing here? Well, I'm seeing, for me right now, I'm just responding to thickness. And I'm saying, okay, let me just see. You know, I don't want too many that just come out. I want some that branch off. You know, I want variety in there. And that just takes, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes Photoshop is even more your friend. I don't really Photoshop a lot of stuff. I'm, you know, classically, you know, do it over and over until it works. But I'm just seeing.
But if we get a whole page full of these, it's a great way to create an exemplar. And because these don't have to be perfect, and if you don't have Photoshop, I'm going to throw out a kind of a funny idea. You could cut these up almost like, and this is a terrible thing to think about, but ransom notes. So you can
Uh-huh.
cut out each one of these letters and paste it on another piece of paper, and you've got your exemplar. It doesn't have to be perfect. This doesn't have to be all in Photoshop and cleaned up. You could make your own exemplar and make it out of cut out letters that you got from your practice pages.
Well, yes, and I hope that you see why I didn't give out an exemplar, because not only will each of yours be different, but each of mine is different. You
Yeah.
know, I'm not going to, I'm going to do another N just for fun. And so, you know, this is going to be different. It's not going to be the same as the other one. And like I said, when you have double letters, you absolutely don't want them. I don't want them the same. Maybe you do. And I don't know, even know if I could do two the same. I'd have to really work at that.
Well, why would you want to? Yeah, I love this. And Leanne is saying this is very freeing not to make perfect letters. That's right. We get to draw here, and they don't even have to look like a branch that's in our mind. We really get to allow the tool to make some marks.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Very intuitive. Almost, I mean, I would never say this other than we're doing this around Halloween, but this is like you can almost pretend like it's a Ouija board if you believe in that kind of thing, right? Let your pen go where it wants to go.
I have a friend he's an email friend, and he's a writer, and he always talks about following his pen. It's not in this way. He's writing stories, but I saw that and I thought, okay, amen. So we need to.
So I have a personal question. It's not a personal question to you, but I myself have a question about this. We've been doing all caps, and I know that there are some lowercase, but do you ever do lowercase?
Well, I did start to do it on something.
Uh-huh.
I did, yeah. So let's see. So well, that's also the uncials, because I'm going to do
Right.
an uncial A here.
And I think following the uncial alphabet would be great because you can do it. But lowercase tends to have a lot more curvy lines as opposed to uppercase has a lot more straight lines. And
Give
so,
me a letter, darling. Give me a letter.
oh my gosh, I'm good at, okay, don't be mad. I'd love to see a letter G. There's a lot going on in it. And I just think that if we do lowercase, it may not be as readable, right?
And why would I get mad at a G?
What's that?
Why would I get mad? You said, don't get mad. I'm on a G.
Because it's a G. That's
Yeah.
there's a lot going on in a lowercase G. Oh, and this is fabulous. Right where it is now, it could be an uppercase G as well.
It could be. Yes, you're absolutely
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
nice. But when these letters when they start living in relationship to other letters to form words, then they start to make more sense. Yeah,
Okay.
this is excellent. All right.
I'm
Any more
wondering,
challenge letters or letters that you'd like to see before we share our work
anything you
on
want to say,
Padlet?
or a word or anything like that?
Yeah.
I'm, you know what, I'm thinking we haven't seen an X, and maybe we need, so I
Ooh,
was
yeah.
writing again. So, and the X, of course, is both, it tends to be both. I almost said a bad thing. I almost said upper lower. It
Right.
minuscule, majuscule.
Well, we don't, I use all of that language interchangeably because we've got lots of different learners here on different levels. So sometimes uppercase, lowercase is something we can relate to. So it's
Okay.
okay. It's okay. No smacking of hands here. No, not at all.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So we have two curves. What do we have? We have a curve and a straight and a curve, and then the tops and bottoms. So I'm going to be doing a small curve. And yeah. And of course I could do 20 S's and they would all be different. I like the idea of dripping. And that just comes out naturally, doesn't it? I know when we learn to do that with our pens, it's just like an exciting moment. That fishtail idea. Now I could do something and say, oh no, I wouldn't do that.
I love hearing you talk through this as well. Hearing how you're talking about it as you're writing it.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I love that spine of that S is very horizontal.
Well,
Well
that,
done.
the secret to an S, it doesn't matter what it is that, and I know you know this, but is that there's a curve of some kind. There's a straight part, whether it comes down or it comes across or down across, and another curve, and whether this space is bigger and smaller or the same. But that's the quintessential essential S, is that you've got to have a straight part in there. But I know that I used to love the uncials, and I'm looking for but that would do that. That's what my uncial S looked like in 30 years ago. And Sheila said there that round T is not uncial. And I just have to say, with teaching uncial right now, it's like, Sheila, oh, that came from the half uncial, not from the uncial. Okay, thank you. All right, so there's an S. Let me do one more S, just because they'll be different. And purposely so, I think maybe I have it in a different place than something dripping. The person who works in the lab, I mean, I used to love chemistry, but that was in high school. I don't know I would have gotten through college chemistry at all. So yes, depending what's around it, as you said, Heather, it will, it may or may not, work in a certain way. But I do love that you can fill the spaces between letters, or if a letter, I mean, I was going to say if letters misshape, you can't, there's not a way to misshape the letters because they're all going to be there. You saw O's that I did, they're all over the place. So, okay. If we have no other requests, then you want to go to Padlet, I think.
Yeah, let's share the Padlet. This is really exciting. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing what you've done here. And some of you even had some time to add some color. So I myself, I live in Colorado, so aspen trees are a huge part of my life. So great use of that. And in a few weeks, all of those will be gone. And then you could write some dead aspen trees, right? Wow. Talk about really getting that ink to move. It looks like this person moved the ink before it was dry. So good job.
They must be on their second bottle of ink already.
Right? Here we go. And oh, here's wonderful use of 2-color.
Great. And all that dripping.
Yeah. I
Oh,
love
those
that.
O's and Halloween, those like make my eyes crazy in a good way.
Yeah. And I love this gray and how it's part of the baseline now, right? So even if it was done after, because it looks like it probably was, if it was done before, it would probably be a little too straight. But yeah, this is wonderful to be able to see that black shadow line. Good job.
And to think of things growing out of the ground.
Yes.
In my neighborhood, a lot of people have put stuff up, and one of them was like the hands reaching out of the ground, or like someone's been buried alive.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that did happen. That's great.
Yeah. Now we've incorporated the tree. Great spacing. Wonderful reminder to have fun. Good job. Very important. Oh, how wonderful to see more color.
Oh, that's so.
Yeah. And that's a compliment in this class, in today's session, right?
That's great. They're really in the spirit of it.
And there's so many letters here. It reminds me that it would probably be good to write a pangram. Just a reminder, I know it would be maybe a little too much to share, but it would be a great practice to have a pangram.
Please remind me what a pangram is.
A pangram being a letter sentence, so a sentence that has every letter of the alphabet.
The letters, okay, yes.
Yeah. Oh, I love how much rocking back and forth there's happening in this. In these downstrokes, really, that almost looks like an aspen tree, but opposite.
And you know, you're going to get to know your pen in a way that you haven't known it before. Look at those branches up on top. They look so wonderful.
Yeah, super creepy.
Ooh.
Oh, Marianne, well done. Here we've got some lowercase.
That's
Love
great.
it.
Yeah, great, wonderful.
Oh, you could, you know, you could probably do that 20 more times and just have such a great time with it. Each time will be different and wonderful. Scary. Ooh.
Yeah, good job.
Oh,
This
yeah.
looks like, yeah, this looks like we've got a little bit of walnut ink and mixed with black. Oops, moved on too quickly. Loving the thicks and thins that are found here.
Yeah. Ooh.
That's really great. Very readable.
It
And
is.
and you can see
And
some
not
branches
too many
inside.
branches in that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are ways to make them more and less, you know,
Yes.
and thinner, thicker, all kinds of stuff. So that's a great thing to play with.
Yeah. This is going to be a wonderful thing to look back on. If you come back to this Padlet, you're welcome to keep visiting this to see what other people are doing.
And that's everybody.
Yeah. And being able to see, I love how drippy these are with horror, but to be able to write people's names, you know, kids love that. You gave them a Halloween card. Yeah. Someone was,
Yeah, I worked on one that was for an envelope and didn't quite get it done, but yeah. Oh,
great
this
play.
gives me chills, huh?
Yeah, I'm so glad you wrote the word horror. That gave us all a chance to make straight and
It was,
circular lines.
I
Yep.
request. Now there's the trick or treat. Now look at that as a sign on your door.
Right.
And I only used 3 twigs and used some twine and put them together and then
Now,
taped them to that.
did you do this or is this someone else's?
No, but on my sign. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
love that the L's, look at the L's in Halloween.
Yeah, they look like trees.
Oh,
Well
that's
done.
great.
Yeah, the rest of the letters, and I love these curly Q's and the E. The rest of the letters can be a little bit more simplified so that the L's can really, you know,
Right.
sing
Really
and take
show
up the,
off,
yeah,
huh?
yeah, show off all that great pin work. Yeah. So whether you celebrate Halloween, Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, anything, I'd love to see in the chat what if you celebrate. I mean, if you don't celebrate, that's fine. But what do you celebrate? For me, I celebrate San Juan, which is it's spelled Samhain. It's a
Oh.
yeah, it's a pagan holiday.
Look at that. Could you go back
Yeah.
to horror, please?
Yeah.
Because look at all the tilting and the different sizes and how that's
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
See, that's really that had that movement just
Mhm.
adds so much, doesn't it?
It does. It loosens it up even more.
Yeah.
I feel like Ghost is like a thicket, like I could get stuck in there.
Oh, you're right. Oh my goodness. You would have
Yeah.
some story after that.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you guys have done so great.
There's with the markers.
Yeah.
See, we can do it with it too. Yeah. Oh, good. You drew my little pen just so you can refer to it. That's a good idea. Yeah, and see when we have some more, even though these aren't the exact same lines, because they're so thick, it has a nice contrast with the thinner branches. To me, it makes it more readable.
Yes. Yes, and depending on what you want. I mean, do you want to get
Right.
stuck in the thicket or do you want to know that there's a thicket there and you should stay away?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. I'm going to go just a little bit faster. That one's mine. I think that's all there is. There's just maybe a few more here. I love seeing the sketch notes along with it. I find that this is so helpful for us as learners to be able to do that. Yep. And then I
There
think
you are,
think
zombie.
that's it. That was from last year. Yeah. So well done, everyone. That was super fun. Yay. I love it. And anything else you want to add, Janet, before I do our giveaway? I'm going to be giving away 2, maybe 3. We've got time. I can give away 3 spots to make it your lettering year.
I'm going to say that one of the things now I love the vermilion inks that are the Japanese inks, and I used to use Yashimoto's, but I don't think they are anymore. So there's 3 different kinds that I'm trying. And the Ziller, I don't know if you've tried the Ziller, but it's fluorescent. If you want fluorescent something, oh my goodness, this just kind of reaches up and grabs your tonsils whether you have any or not. And,
Ugh.
and so I really like that. And I'm seeing if there's anything else. This was the old one that I used to have.
Now you
Uh,
mentioned Ziller. Which color is that?
Oh yes, thank you. This is nasturtium orange.
Ah, got it. Okay, I will put that in the chat for folks.
Oh, it's I think, I don't know if Alan Blackman has ever used it, but he always loved fluorescent stuff, and yeah, that's like that. They're all wonderful, but I tried writing on I didn't try all my black papers. I wanted to, but the one that didn't work for me is the Canson drawing paper. Everything just soaked in, even when I put a second layer on top. So if you want to do orange on black or anything like that. And the thing that I wanted to show more of a theme. So I have the invitation to the I'm looking for my papers now. The invitation to the Witch's Brew, and that is supposed to be it opens up so that the cauldron is a second layer, and it opens up, and the inside is where the invitation is. And some people are going to see how to do that on Friday. And so these things, and so I thought on the table on stilts and a long banner would be bite freely.
Ooh.
On the table. And of course you can have place cards with people's names done like that, and a little spider coming down, and cobweb and stuff. Too much fun. And lots and lots of things. It goes. And I did the other one like a horror film. I'd like to do titles for horror films. So anybody knows anyone, I would be glad to do it. Yes. Thank you, Heather. Thank you so much, darling. This has been
You're-
too much fun.
Good. Well, thank you so much. I would love for you to put it on gallery view and everyone give Janet a big, nice round of applause. Yay. I want you to see all the love, all the scary, scary love. We could do creepy hands too.
Thank you, guys. I see people I know, and new friends.
So thank you everyone for being here so much. I look forward to seeing you next time. And you can go ahead and go in the upper right-hand corner, go to gallery view and wave goodbye. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for coming and playing. I had so much fun.